Have you ever entered a room and immediately known who the strongest man was without him saying a single word? What if true power wasn't about being loud, but about being so composed the room adjusts to you? Most men scream for attention. The ones who don't, they haunt your memory. Welcome to Stoic Bridge, the bridge between ancient wisdom and modern life, guiding you through life's storms with calm and resilience. There's a kind of presence that doesn't announce itself. But once it arrives, everyone feels it. You've seen it before. A man steps into the room. He doesn't speak. He doesn't smile excessively or demand attention. And yet, the atmosphere shifts. People notice him without knowing why. That, my friend, is the power of silent attraction. The kind of presence that doesn't beg to be seen, it commands to be felt. He doesn't perform for applause. He doesn't parade his value hoping for validation. He doesn't raise his voice to be heard, because he knows the weight of his silence speaks louder than most men's noise. And here's the paradox. While others are busy trying to impress, he just is. Effortless, grounded, undeniable. Why? Because real power isn't worn like a costume. It's carried quietly in the posture, the eyes, the energy of a man who knows exactly who he is. It's not in flashy words or artificial bravado. It's forged in stillness, in restraint, in that deep, unshakable self-control that comes from mastering your emotions and walking with intention. That's what it means to be silently attractive. It's not about putting on a show. It's about becoming so centered, so composed, that your mere presence lingers in the minds of others long after you've walked away. But here's the cold truth. Most men will never access this level of inner power. Why? Because they're too reactive, too loud, too obsessed with being noticed rather than being felt. They mistake noise for dominance, chaos for charisma. They try to prove themselves when what they really need is to know themselves. And that's not you. You're not here to fade into the background. You're not interested in chasing trends or playing roles. You're here because you're ready to embody something deeper. You want to walk into any room, not with arrogance, but with presence. With that quiet kind of force that makes people sit up and pay attention without knowing exactly why. That's the essence of Stoicism: restraint over reaction, composure over chaos, power through silence. And today I'm going to show you 10 core habits that will help you cultivate that unshakable presence. No gimmicks, no hype, just raw, grounded energy that speaks volumes without you needing to say a word. If that resonates with you, stick around until the end. Because this isn't just theory. It's a blueprint, and it starts right now. Let's dive into the first habit that will begin transforming how the world experiences your presence before you ever utter a single word. Number 1, master the art of stillness. There's a rare kind of presence in a man who can sit still while the world around him spins out of control. Imagine this. The room is filled with noise, movement, nervous energy, but in the corner sits one man, unmoved, calm, grounded, eyes steady like iron locked on something no one else can see. That stillness, that's not emptiness, that's power. Compressed, focused, and quietly commanding. Most men can't bear silence. They fidget the second it arrives, they reach for their phones, they adjust their watches, they fill the air with shallow motion, as if they're trying to escape themselves. They confuse movement with meaning, believing that being busy equals being important. But true strength doesn't flinch, it doesn't race. It waits, it observes, it chooses. A man who has mastered the art of stillness is dangerous, not because he is loud, but because he doesn't need to be. His calm becomes unnerving. His silence becomes loud. He radiates discipline, control, presence. You don't know what he's thinking, and that mystery pulls people in. Have you ever watched someone who simply sat unbothered while chaos unfolded, who didn't chase the noise but absorbed it, letting it pass by like a wave breaking against stone. That's not weakness. That's a storm gathering strength. That's a warrior in full command of his instincts. Marcus Aurelius understood this. Picture him in his war tent, not shouting orders, not pacing in panic, but writing, reflecting, practicing stillness while the empire trembled. Because he knew something most men never learn. Motion without meaning is a life wasted. Every nervous tick, every reflex, every unfiltered reaction, it leaks power. A Stoic man doesn't leak, he conserves. And when he moves with a precision that shatters the silence. So let others stumble in their frenzy. Let them wear themselves out trying to be seen, trying to matter. But you'll sit like stone, quiet, present, watching. Until the moment arrives when a single movement from you can shift the entire room. And that brings us to the next habit, one that amplifies your stillness with piercing clarity. Speaking less, but saying far more. Number 2, speak less, say more. Sometimes the loudest person in the room is the easiest to ignore, but the one who barely speaks, that's the person you can't stop watching. There's a mysterious kind of gravity in a man who chooses his words like a warrior chooses his weapon. Carefully, purposefully, with deadly precision. Most people talk just to fill the silence, as if empty noise can somehow patch the cracks in their confidence. You've seen it before. Words thrown around like confetti, not to connect, but to be noticed. Desperate chatter that masks insecurity, not strength. But noise doesn't equal power. In fact, real power begins where noise ends. The most magnetic men don't speak often, and when they do, it's never by accident. They don't talk to prove themselves. They talk because they mean something. Their words are intentional, sharpened, sparse, but unforgettable, like arrows released with perfect aim. They understand something the world has forgotten. Silence isn't awkward. It's dominance. Silence creates pressure. It forces attention. Every pause becomes a mirror, reflecting power back at those around you. In that stillness, people feel your presence. They lean in. They wonder. They listen. Not because you're loud, but because your quiet holds weight. Seneca the wise Stoic once wrote, "A sword is useless in the hands of a fool." And isn't speech the same? Most people swing their words wildly, hitting nothing, drowning themselves in noise. But a master, a true Stoic, knows when to sheath his blade, when to wait, when to strike. And when he does, it cuts clean through the noise. Every word lands like thunder. Every glance draws attention without effort. It's not about what you say, it's about what they feel when you say it. Words shouldn't be used to defend your worth. They should be expressions of it, tools of impact. Lightning bolts in a storm you've kept hidden until now. So speak less, say more. Let your silence do the heavy lifting. Let it unsettle, captivate, and challenge. And when you finally speak, make it unforgettable. Make your voice hit not just their ears, but their core. Because the men who shaped history, the ones remembered long after they were gone, weren't the loudest. They were the most precise. They didn't compete for attention. They made the world wait for it. Now, once you've mastered restraint in speech, there's something even more powerful to control next. Your eyes. Let's talk about the silent force behind every commanding presence. Eye contact. Have you ever seen a man remain perfectly still while insults fly his way? No twitch, no blink, no emotional crack on his face. It's not coldness, it's not arrogance, it's control, it's power. Because when the world can't read you, it can't touch you. Number 3, control your facial expressions. Most men give themselves away without realizing it. One raised eyebrow, a flicker of doubt in the eyes, a clenched jaw, a forced smile that masks a bruise to the ego. These tiny betrayals, this emotional leakage, is where all your power begins to slip. When someone sees exactly how their words impacted you, they know where to aim next. And that right there is how presence begins to crumble. Now imagine the opposite, a face that reveals nothing except calm certainty. Not numb, not robotic, but mastered. Every expression is chosen, not spilled. That's the face of a Stoic. It doesn't react, it reflects intent. Think of the great philosophers who faced emperors and tyrants with nothing but composure. Epictetus, the once enslaved philosopher, said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Your facial expressions are often the first place your reaction shows. If you can master that front line, you've already won half the battle. This isn't about faking detachment or shutting down emotions. It's about discipline. It's about making your face a mirror of your inner calm, not a projection of your chaos. Because when you can sit in stillness while your face remains unreadable, the world leans in closer. People become intrigued, curious. They start wondering, what's he thinking? Why isn't he shaken like everyone else? And right then, the power shifts. You become a mystery they need to solve. You become the fortress they want to breach. And the more they try to read you, the more drawn in they become. It's a pull they can't explain, and that's where attraction truly begins. It's not in the smile you fake to appear agreeable, it's in the silence you hold when the world expects a reaction. Because real control isn't flashy, it's quiet. Real strength doesn't announce itself, it waits. You become the man who doesn't flinch when tested, the one whose calm becomes contagious. And in a world addicted to oversharing, that kind of restraint is magnetic. So, every time life throws a jab, every time someone tries to rattle you, remember this: you are not required to react. You are not required to show pain, frustration, or fear. You are required only to choose, to decide who you want to be in that moment, and to let your face mirror that decision. This is how warriors stand before chaos, unmoved, composed, breathing slow while storms rage on. Not because they feel nothing, but because they control everything that shows. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That's not just a quote, it's a way of life. Mastering your face is mastering your freedom. It's breaking the chains of impulse and walking in the full strength of presence. Now that you've taken command of your expression, let's move deeper into the way you move. Because even your posture can whisper power or scream insecurity. Sometimes the most powerful presence is your absence. It's not about disappearing forever. It's about becoming something rare, something unforgettable. Because mystery is magnetic. And if people always know where to find you, they stop wondering why they should. Number 4, be unavailable. Strategically. Want to know the secret to becoming truly irresistible? Don't give yourself away freely. Don't always be reachable, always be present, always be ready at the drop of a text. Because when something is too accessible, it stops feeling valuable. The predictable becomes background noise, and eventually it becomes invisible. Most people are addicted to availability. They're constantly texting back, showing up, replying instantly, hoping that presence equals connection. But what they don't realize is that constant presence dilutes impact. You can't be a storm if you're always lingering in the breeze. True attraction lives in absence, in the not knowing. In the questions that linger: where is he? Why hasn't he answered? What is he doing right now? That void you leave, that's not emptiness, that's power. Because when people don't have access to you, they fill in the silence with desire, with imagination, with craving, and the more they imagine, the more they want. You don't have to play games. This isn't about manipulation, it's about value. When you pull back, not out of fear but out of strength, you remind them that you are not a given. You are not a constant. You are not someone they can summon with a ping. You're a force, a moment, an experience. When you're always there, they forget your rarity. But when you're gone, even for a little while, they remember what it felt like to miss you. And that memory, that ache, is far more powerful than anything you could have said or done in your presence. The Stoics understood this deeply. They weren't men of constant motion or emotional dependence. They didn't beg to be seen. They didn't flood the space with effort. They created space. And in that space, they expanded. A Stoic man guards his time like treasure. He decides when to engage and when to retreat. He knows that silence builds strength, that withdrawal can amplify presence, and that you never need to chase because your absence does the chasing for you. You are not at the mercy of anyone's expectations. You don't owe the world your immediate attention. And you certainly don't need to explain your silence. That's not arrogance, it's sovereignty. It's the quiet truth that you are not here to be consumed. You are here to be respected. So let them feel your absence like a gust of cold air when the fire disappears. Let them ache for your return. Let them reach for what they once took for granted. And when you show up again, don't just arrive, erupt. Like lightning cracking through silence, like the moment calm is broken by something bigger, more powerful, more unforgettable. You're not a convenience, you're an event. And real events, they don't happen every day. They're rare, deliberate, and unforgettable. Now that you've become the mystery they chase, let's explore how to turn even your smallest movements into quiet, commanding signals, starting with the art of walking like you own the ground beneath your feet. There's something unmistakable about the way a powerful man walks. He doesn't rush, he doesn't shrink. He moves like every inch of the earth recognizes him, like every step confirms his right to exist, boldly, silently, without apology. Number 5, walk like you own the ground beneath your feet. Every step you take is more than motion, it's a statement, a quiet declaration that you belong. The world doesn't always ask with words, but it always wonders, do you believe you belong here? And with your posture, your rhythm, your energy, you answer, absolutely. There are 2 kinds of men in every room. One walks in and you feel him before he says a word. The other drifts along the edges, afraid to disturb the air. One commands, the other fades. Straighten your back, raise your chin. Let your spine stand as a symbol of your convictions, not stiff with pride, but steady with certainty. Don't move like you're trying to be invisible. Don't slip through life like a whisper. Move like you matter. Own your presence. You are not a ghost passing through borrowed time. You are a man who has earned the right to exist exactly where he stands. And the ground beneath you? It doesn't need permission to respond, it already knows. Let your steps carry the weight of a man who has fought battles, won wars within himself, and emerged grounded, resolute, calm. This is what it means to walk with quiet confidence. You're no longer chasing admiration. You're no longer asking for approval. You've built your worth in silence, and now it speaks for you. A Stoic understands this well. The world does not dictate how he moves, he does. He is not a victim of his environment. He moves with the certainty that his choices, his posture, his rhythm are all under his control. And that self-command, that's what sets him apart. You don't need to announce your worth. You don't need to puff your chest or perform for the crowd. The way you carry yourself will tell the story. Let them feel it in the calm of your gait, the stillness of your presence. Let them wonder how someone so silent can feel so loud. True leaders don't ask for room. They create it with every step. They don't shrink to fit the world. They expand to shape it. That's what walking like a man of value means. No flash, no arrogance. Just the solid presence of someone who knows who he is and doesn't flinch. The Stoic moves through life knowing the storms outside can roar all they want, because the storm inside has already been conquered. He doesn't walk with noise, he walks with certainty, and that certainty is louder than any shout. So move through the world like a man who has nothing left to prove. Move like you've survived the fire, and wear the ashes as your armor. Walk like someone who's faced down fear and turned it into fuel. You don't need to scream. The world will feel it. Because when you've truly mastered yourself, when your inner world is solid, unshaken, that energy travels with you. It ripples into every room. It bends the atmosphere around you. You don't need validation. You become the validation. That's why you walk with your head high, shoulders back, and your pace steady. Not because you're pretending to be powerful, but because you've already claimed it. Now that your stride carries the weight of a man who owns himself, let's explore how mastering eye contact can make your silence even more powerful than words. There's a unique kind of power in a man who doesn't flinch when provoked. Picture this: the world throws its sharpest words, its cruelest insults, its most calculated jabs, and he doesn't even blink. No rage, no comeback, just calm, collected, unmoved. Number 6, never react to insults, ever. They'll come at you and they'll come hard. Insults dressed as jokes, sarcasm laced with venom, passive-aggressive digs designed to slice your ego and rattle your pride. You'll feel the sting in your chest. Your pulse will quicken, your jaw might tighten, you'll feel that fire building, the impulse to strike back, to prove your strength. But hear this clearly: the moment you react, you lose. Not just the battle in that instant, but the far bigger war for control over yourself. Because the second you lash out, you hand over your power. You make their words more important than your peace. And that's a cost no grounded man can afford. The Stoic doesn't play that game. He sees the insult, he feels the moment, but he remains still, anchored like a mountain in a storm. You throw words at him and they hit the surface, but they never penetrate. Because he knows who he is, and no external jab can shake an internal truth. Someone sneers, he doesn't retaliate. Someone mocks, he doesn't explain. Someone tries to ignite his anger, and he simply watches. Not with coldness, but with quiet strength. That kind of restraint isn't weakness, it's domination. It's the kind of power that makes people uncomfortable because they can't rattle it, they can't control it, and deep down they envy it. Marcus Aurelius, a man who carried the weight of an empire, once wrote, "It's not events that disturb us, but our judgment of them, that no insult has power until you give it power. And when you refuse to be shaken, you rob those words of their fuel." Ask yourself, what's the most devastating weapon you can carry in this chaotic world? It's not a witty comeback, not a sharper tongue. It's unreactive presence. It's the stillness of a man who has already fought his biggest battles within and refuses to be dragged back into noise. That man doesn't just earn respect, he commands it. People watch him with awe. They test him, and he doesn't break. They push, and he doesn't budge. And eventually, they stop testing, because deep down, they realize they're in the presence of someone they can't shake, someone they can't own. When you don't react, something remarkable happens. You flip the script, you take control. The one who tried to provoke you now feels exposed, childish, even powerless. And that silence you held, it hits harder than any insult ever could. This isn't about pretending you don't feel. It's about choosing what deserves your energy. It's about understanding that most provocation is noise, shallow attempts to get a rise out of you. And when you rise above it, you become untouchable. Imagine standing still while chaos screams in your face. No anger, no explanation, just presence. That's terrifying for them and inspiring for everyone else watching. You become the calm in the storm, the man whose dignity cannot be shaken, whose worth cannot be questioned by the words of others, because you've already answered those questions within yourself. So next time the world throws its darts, let them fly. Don't react. Don't engage. Let your silence speak volumes. Let your stillness echo like thunder in the hearts of those who tried to shake you. And now, as you anchor yourself in emotional discipline, it's time to master the next element of silent power, your gaze. Let's talk about eye contact, the language of unspoken dominance. There's something powerful, almost unsettling, about a man who keeps his voice calm when the world is screaming. In chaos, when tension crackles through the air and others are on the edge of panic, the Stoic does something rare. He remains composed, and so does his voice. Number 7, keep your voice calm and controlled. Picture this: emotions are flaring, the room is heavy with stress, voices are rising in pitch and volume like waves crashing against a cliff. Most men get swept away by the current. Their fear leaks through every syllable. Their desperation takes shape in their tone. They shout not to be heard, but because they've lost control. But you become the still point in a turning world. You don't rise to the chaos, you anchor yourself beneath it. Your voice doesn't race or roar, it slows, it deepens, it sharpens, it becomes a steady flame in the middle of a wildfire. A Stoic speaks not with noise, but with intention. Every word is weighted, every pause deliberate. His voice doesn't just communicate, it commands. It doesn't need to overpower. It simply exists with such forceful composure that silence follows it like a shadow. Think about it. When someone speaks with calm certainty in the middle of a storm, what happens? People stop, they listen, they lean in. You don't need volume to gain respect. You don't need to shout to be seen. Your strength is not in how much you say, but in how deeply your words land. Like carefully chosen stones dropped into still water, each one creates ripples that travel far beyond the moment. This kind of voice comes from discipline, from inner clarity, from the decision to never let emotion run faster than thought. When the Stoic speaks, he speaks like a man who's already wrestled with the chaos inside and emerged victorious. His voice is steady because he is steady. It's low not because he's hiding, but because he doesn't need to prove anything. And here's what most people never understand. Stillness is not the absence of emotion, it's the mastery of it. Silence is not weakness, it's precision. Calm speech is not lack of fire, it's the containment of it. The Stoic welcomes silence before and after he speaks. That pause, that's not hesitation, that's the space where power lives. It's the breath between thoughts. It's the reminder that he chooses each word, not as a reaction, but as a statement of control. And when you finally do speak, low, grounded, unhurried, your words cut through the noise like a blade through fog. Not because they're loud, but because they're true. And truth, spoken with calm certainty, carries further than 100 angry voices ever could. This is the power you hold when you tame your voice. You become unforgettable, not for the volume of your presence, but for the weight of it. You are the calm in the storm. The voice that echoes not because it's raised, but because it's rooted. So next time the pressure rises and the world expects you to react, don't lower your voice. Slow your breath, speak with intent, and let your words land like thunder in a room that never saw the storm coming. Now that your voice reflects inner mastery, let's move to something even quieter, but just as commanding, your gaze. It's time to understand the raw power of eye contact that holds without fear and speaks without words. Attention is the currency of power, yet most people spend it like loose change. They toss it around carelessly, offering it to anyone and anything that flickers in front of them. They nod at every sentence, laugh at jokes that hold no weight, and talk just to avoid the discomfort of silence. Number 8, make people earn your attention. In today's world, most people give their focus away without thought. They treat their presence like it's disposable, as if their energy is endless and their time is meaningless. But here's the brutal truth. When your attention is free, it's seen as worthless. And when it's seen as worthless, so are you. That's why they get overlooked, forgotten, ignored. Because when you give everything to everyone, you become nothing to anyone. But those who command respect, they move differently. They don't chase approval. They don't rush into conversation just to fill the void. They're not afraid of silence, because they've learned that silence reveals more than words ever could. These men understand the weight of their focus. They know that to give someone their full attention is not a small gift, it's a powerful act. And because their energy is rare, it becomes valuable, sought after, respected. The Stoics mastered this mindset long ago. They knew that where your focus goes, your life follows. Seneca warned us clearly, people guard their money, yet let anyone steal their time. But what's more precious than time? And what is time if not the foundation of your attention? So ask yourself, how many times have you allowed someone to pull you into drama, small talk, distractions that drain your clarity, your peace, your strength? Each time you do, you trade your essence for emptiness. Each time you respond to noise, you betray your inner stillness. The wise don't hand out their energy like samples, they conserve it, guard it, channel it into purpose. They become the force others notice, not because they demand attention, but because they withhold it. And in doing so, they become a presence that people feel the need to earn. In a world that screams for validation, power lies in being selective. Power lies in looking someone in the eye and saying, with your silence, I don't give my energy to just anyone. You are not obligated to respond. You are not required to explain. You are allowed to preserve your focus like a sacred fire, only lighting it for what matters. And when others realize that your attention is no longer free, something profound happens. They begin to chase it. They lean in. They try harder. They feel the weight of your presence. Because you've made your time, your presence, your focus valuable, not with words, but with restraint. So stop scattering yourself. Stop giving away your energy to every distraction, every voice, every meaningless pull on your attention. Make people earn access to you. Make your presence feel like a privilege. And once you've guarded your energy like a fortress, it's time to elevate it even further by mastering the art of presence through still, unwavering eye contact. Let's unlock the silent power of your gaze. There's something unforgettable about a man who doesn't show all his cards, a man who walks through the world like a riddle, one that no one can quite solve, no matter how hard they try. Number 9, maintain mystery, always. The moment someone believes they've figured you out, you lose your edge. You become familiar, predictable, just another open book collecting dust on the mental shelf of those who once thought you were intriguing. Because the truth is, curiosity dies in clarity. And once people stop wondering, they stop caring. But a man who guards his depths, he becomes unforgettable. He lingers like a shadow in the back of their mind. Not because he's loud or flashy, but because something about him is just out of reach, like a storm building far on the horizon, felt long before it ever arrives. That's how the Stoic moves, quietly, intentionally, with presence that grips the air without saying a word. He does not explain himself. He doesn't plead to be understood. He allows others to guess, to wonder, to project, because that mystery, that restraint is power. He only speaks when his words carry weight. He lets silence build tension. He knows that when you say little, every word becomes amplified. Every pause becomes an unspoken challenge. And most importantly, he never makes himself too available, too easy to read. He refuses to hand over the full map of his soul. He knows the value in leaving parts of himself hidden, unguessed, unspoken. People will try to figure him out. They'll dissect his words, overanalyze his glances, read too deeply into his silences. Why? Because he's given them just enough to crave the rest. And that craving, that unanswered curiosity, is what makes him unforgettable. This isn't manipulation. This is mastery. This is self-possession. It's the discipline to hold back when the world begs you to spill everything. Because the man who reveals too much invites control. The man who hides nothing can be used, misread, and ultimately discarded. But the man who keeps something in reserve, he's impossible to control, impossible to discard. He becomes a presence they can't shake even when he's gone. So vanish when they expect you to stay. Speak when they expect silence. Leave the conversation just before it ends. Give them a glimpse, but never the full picture. Let your presence echo in the room long after you've left it, because when they think they've finally figured you out, that's when you disappear, leaving behind not confusion, but fascination. Not closure, but obsession. And when your mystery is woven into every move and moment, it's time to complete the transformation by learning how to carry all this quiet power without ever asking for permission. Let's step into the final habit, becoming unshakable under pressure. Some men crumble the moment pressure arrives. Others, they become something untouchable. Number 10. Be unshakable under pressure. Life won't just test you, it will try to break you. It doesn't ask permission, it strikes where you're most vulnerable. Your pride, your comfort, your sense of safety. It'll rip away everything you've built and then watch to see if you collapse. Most men do. They shatter like fragile glass, folding under stress like paper soaked in fear. They panic, they lash out. They search for anything to numb the pain, excuses, distractions, hollow words that echo in empty rooms. They hope to be rescued. They pray for relief. But then, there's the other kind of man. The kind the world doesn't expect. The kind the storm can't swallow. This man stands when others fall. He doesn't tremble when the winds howl. He doesn't beg when the knife of betrayal cuts deep. He doesn't flinch when life throws cruelty straight in his face. His strength doesn't come from the world, it comes from within. He is the storm. This is the Stoic ideal. This is what Epictetus embodied, a man born into chains, stripped of freedom, beaten down by circumstance. And yet, through it all, he remained untouched where it mattered most. His soul, his response. You can chain my body, he said, but my soul is mine. That's the power we're talking about. Not the absence of pain, but the refusal to let pain define you. Not the desire for ease, but the hunger for hardship. Because hardship is where the real transformation happens. This kind of man doesn't pray for calm seas. He chooses the storm. Why? Because he knows calm doesn't build muscle. Pressure does. Fire doesn't destroy him, it forges him. Chaos doesn't throw him off course, it reveals his course. He moves through pain with precision, through darkness with clarity, through doubt with silence. He doesn't fight to escape it, he absorbs it. He becomes harder under pressure, sharper in confusion, stronger in loss. And when he walks through fire, he walks out stronger, not despite the pain, but because of it. And here's the paradox. The world will try to crush this man. And yet, it can't. He becomes a mirror to those who are weak. They'll fear him, envy him, try to tear him down because he reminds them of everything they've failed to become. But the strong, they'll follow him, respect him, gravitate to him, because he's something rare, a man who cannot be broken. And when you become this man, calm in storms, composed in chaos, unbreakable when life hits hardest, your very presence begins to shift the world around you. So what happens when you embody all 10 of these habits? Let's bring it all together in one final reminder. This isn't smoke and mirrors. This isn't a performance. Silent attraction is the purest form of power, undeniable, steady, and impossible to fake. It's the quiet force that separates a man who begs to be seen from the one whose very presence commands attention. The moment you stop chasing approval, something inside you shifts. You walk differently. You speak less, but say more. You carry yourself like a man who doesn't need to convince anyone. Because his existence is the evidence. People feel it, not in your words, but in your stillness, in your gaze, in the way you move through the world like someone who's already won his internal battles. And when you embody these 10 habits, something strange happens. You won't just be noticed, you'll linger. Even when you leave, your absence will echo louder than another man's voice. Your presence will become unforgettable, etched into their memory like a story with no final page. So today we walk through 10 powerful habits: stillness, restraint, voice, movement, and presence that transform you into a man of gravity. If this stirred something in you, hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe. Share this with someone who's ready to stop chasing and start becoming. Because true power doesn't beg, it doesn't boast, it just is.